I thought that once I had embraced what I consider to be the call on my life, that was literally the call on my life forever and ever. So when I was starting to get the tug and feel the whispers and feel this this desire to pivot, I'm like, what is that though? This is my thing. This is my jam. This is what I'm known for. This is what I'm good at. I'm better than good. I'm great at it. So why am I feeling this? Like, what is this discomfort? Hey family, I'm Patrice Washington and you're doing Life with LaKitia on Living Her Truth.
Hey family, welcome to the Living Her Truth podcast, where we have honest conversations about what it means to live a purpose-driven life. I am your host, LaKitia Woodard from LaKitiaWoodard.com, the place where women receive the tools necessary to feel seen, heard, and supported while pursuing their purpose. And now every week you'll learn those same tools through candid and transparent conversations. Patrice, thank you so much for saying yes to having this conversation with me today.
How could I not say yes? There's no way that I could turn you down. That's impossible.
Oh my God.
I'm too proud of you. So,
man, thank you. Don't make me tear up. Don't make me tear up, because it's probably going to be some tears and some sniffles in this conversation already. So let's not start the conversation that way.
I'm just giving you my truth.
Oh, thank you so much. And that means a whole lot. You know, I like to start off every conversation with just talking about how I come to know the person that I'm talking with. And our conversation is going to be special because I share a little bit of how Our Sister's Truth actually launched. And you are part of the Google search that I did. So people are about to really get like the fine details of my story today. So for those of you who never heard the story, so it started off with me venting to a girlfriend, because I'm venting to her like, man, like, why am I always helping everybody else out and being able to give everyone else ideas and strategies on what they can do, right? And I had this conversation with my girlfriend because I had literally just sat down with what I now know to be a peak my brain session with a friend to help her come up out of the classroom. She's a teacher and she wanted to do something else. So we sat down, we strategized to come up with a plan. So I got frustrated with myself because I'm like, I'm always able to do this for everyone else. How come I can't do this for me? I'm venting to a girlfriend. And her response to me through email was, you know, Keisha, you have a lot of information. You always helping people. You need to figure out a way to track the results, package it up, and sell it. I was like, wait a minute, do what? I had to read the email a couple of times because that was completely foreign. I had no idea what she was talking about. And so I did what everyone else would do. Enroll in Google University. Went on Google, started doing some research. Don't really know exactly what I Googled, but I do know that it had purpose in it, purpose-driven life, live purposely, along those lines, because at that point in my life, I wanted to do something that was purpose-driven, not knowing that I was already acting in purpose. Yeah. So doing a Google search, that's when I found out about Lisa Nichols, Tony Robbins, understood what Ayanna Van Sant did. And I was just like, okay, I can do this. Okay. And then I ran across the Earn More Money Challenge. That was another one of my Google search results. And so what drew me to the challenge is because the challenge had purpose in it. Literally, you can monetize your purpose. You can use your natural God-given gifts and talents to earn more money. For me, the challenge wasn't even speaking to start a business. It was just like supplement your income. Like, just make some money on the side. Take what you already know and make some money on the side. So I was like, okay, it's a 26-day challenge. It's free. Yeah. Let me start here. This is perfect. She's talking my language. Let me figure it out, because I have no idea what my God-given talents are. Yes, I did. I knew what they were. Yeah. I just needed the challenge to really help me to focus and get clear on what it is. Yeah. So you guys, it was literally the Earn More Money Challenge where A Sister's Truth was birthed, because it started off as a WordPress blog.
Yep.
She was like, just start a blog. Just let's start there. And it just took off from there. And this was like 3 years ago. And so from 3 years until now, I have a whole consultancy. I'm an author. I do speaking engagements. And now I'm a podcaster. So,
come on, girl.
I mean, you know. And that's just the short of the long of it, you know. And it really, like, the Earn More Money Challenge really just helped me to see that I was already moving in purpose. I was already doing it. I just needed to embrace it. I knew what my purpose was. I didn't have to find it. I don't like it when people say they got to find their purpose. You know what it is. You just not choosing to embrace it.
Yeah.
I needed to embrace it and be okay with it, you know, and then put a dollar sign on it. Now, you know, if you don't want to put a dollar sign on your purpose, that's fine, right? But me, at that point in my life, I wanted to do something else that was a little bit more meaningful. And so, yeah. And so my relationship with Patrice, I feel like it's beyond, because, you know, we take challenges all the time, right?
Yeah.
And we get to know, we don't necessarily get to know the person that's behind the challenge. But Patrice and I feel like, have gotten to really know each other. Yeah. So I take this challenge. So now I love the challenge. And now I'm following her everywhere across social media, right? I'm in Facebook groups. I'm following her on Instagram. I'm just following her everywhere. And so she started speaking at the Paul Mitchell schools and came to Houston. And so I was like, oh, and by this time I had already bought her book as well. I should have grabbed it. I had already bought her book as well. So when she came to Paul Mitchell School here in Houston, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to see my girl. It was another free event, had my book in hand, and went to go and hear her speak. You guys, I was just going just to hear her speak, maybe get a hug, you know, an autograph in my book. When I tell you, first off, just in case you missed it, I had never met Patrice before this moment in person. Never met her before in person. When it was my turn, when that woman that was in front of me moved to the side, you know what she said? Hey, LaKitia, girl, I could have fell out and died for several reasons. Number one, you pronounced my name correctly. Let's just start there. Number one, you pronounced my name correctly. And then number two, I had no idea that you even really knew my name, because on Instagram, my profile name is A Sister's Truth. It's not even LaKitia. But the fact that she even knew my name, you guys, and it wasn't just me, it was everybody else that came behind me too. She absolutely knew our names. Blew me away, completely blew me away. And the next thing I know, we're having dinner and drinks at Papa Do's.
No, that was such a fun time, wasn't it?
It was
so good. I remember telling my husband that I was going to go have dinner with some purpose chasers in my community. And he was like, what do you mean? I'm like, you should be used to this by now. I'm like, no, I'm going to ride over with one of the ladies. Yep. And then we're going to go meet up with other ladies that came to see me speak. And he's like, only you. Like, I just don't understand. Only you. But first of all, I don't take it lightly, right? That people would stop whatever they're doing, free or not free, to come and be in the space and to even want to come say thank you to me in person for something they read or something, you know, I said at some point. But the truth is, you know, I get literally dozens of messages every day, like every single day. Yeah. But I always tell people that, you know, there are certain people, for whatever reason, God just shines a light on them and they just stand out in my mind. And I'm not always aware of what it is in particular, but when my mind can lock in on somebody's face or their name, and over a period of time, I know that that is like, you know, a relationship or something that I'm supposed to nurture in some form or fashion. Not that I'm like, hey, you know, like, but when they come to me, I feel like I have a responsibility or a duty to give in the way that I can give in that time. And this is why I always tell people, you don't have to force relationships with people that you see as a mentor or that you may see as an influencer or any of those things. If you just show up consistently and be, and just like have a consistent presence, right? So I don't do shows that don't have at least 20 episodes under their belt. Like that's our rule of thumb, because I get podcast interviews and interview requests, when I say every week, like 15, and I couldn't keep up. It was wearing me out. Okay.
Wow.
So I had to really prioritize my yes and be a lot more vocal about the no's. But when they told me the name LaKitia Woodard, I said, "Oh, LaKitia, that's the homegirl. We got right?" Because I've watched your progress over the years, and you've been consistent, right? And you've just continuously built your platform and allowed the Holy Spirit to help you, evolve into who God is calling you to be and has called you to be. And so those are the people where absolutely women like you, yes, I will pour back in. I have people that request things of me that can't even tell me one podcast episode they've ever listened to, or can't tell me something significant that my work has even created in their life. They're just basically, as my daughter would say, cloud chasing, right? So it may look good for them to say that I was on, or to say that we have some type of connection, but there's no sincerity behind it. There's no true, genuine, like, wow, this did something for me. And every human being wants to know that they have created an impact in some form or fashion. Like, the desire of your heart is to know that you made a difference, right? So if I know I made a difference in some way, I feel compelled to continue that relationship. But if it's just like, hey, I'm just looking for people, well, go look for people. Go to Google University, as you say, and go find some people. But I have to reserve my time and my energy for people who are sincere. So it's my honor. And like you said, I knew exactly who you were. Didn't you have a cute little suit too? I feel like you had on a cute little pants.
I had on a cute little dress. I got cute for you. I did.
Yeah,
I did. I got cute for you.
But I do remember, from the time of the Earn More Money movement throughout, I don't know if it was Periscope or where else you used to kind of like get down with me, but I just always remember A Sister's Truth or your name. And so that's a great lesson, I think, to your audience. Is if you want to be in relationship with someone, actually support, show up, be involved, comment. I remember on my podcast, now we're about to hit 1.5 million downloads.
Ooh, girl, oh my God.
Here, right? And I remember those first, few 10,000s of downloads, you were consistently commenting.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't comment, I was like, okay, because LaKitia, she's like my target, like she's my kind of girl. So was this not resonating? Then you might come through like 2 days later, like, hey, catching up. I'm like, okay, we still on. We still doing something, right? So you have no idea the level of encouragement you gave me in those first several months of producing the podcast, when it was still like, I'm trying to find my voice. This is a pivot for me. It's not what I've always been known for in terms of my whole philosophy around money. I'm shifting things. I'm being obedient. I'm trying to answer the call, but I'm like, God, I want to make sure this is in alignment. And so you have no idea how much you encouraged me early on.
Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for that. One of the things that drew me to you, because yes, I also enrolled in the Earn More Money Bootcamp, your Facebook group, and then following you on Instagram. So yes, I was supporting you in multiple different places. But once I learned your story, because anybody that knows me, they know I love a good come up story. I love to hear how someone has overcome triumph, and defeat the odds and continue to walk in their purpose, and you have mentored me from afar up until the point that we met each other. And that was just because you showed up every day. Every day you said yes to walking into your greatness every day. There are so many of us that are not willing to do that. We're just too scared. We're waiting for permission. We're waiting for someone to validate us, and for you to go through your journey and your evolution, because you have evolved too. You've been in the game for years. I'm just not meeting you 3 years ago, and within those 3 years, you have evolved a lot yourself. You went from, teaching people how to budget their money, right? To teaching us how to redefine our relationship with money, like redefine wealth, right? To now I feel like now you're transitioning into the psychology behind why we have the type of relationship that we have with money. So your purpose is an evolution. And I think that a lot of us get stuck on this one thing, and instead of just really embracing the evolution for the personal growth. Can you talk a little bit more about your transition?
Well, I mean, it's just what you said. First of all, you articulated it perfectly. So again, that's how I know you, my girl. And then they went here, and then like you were right. That is LaKitia. So here's the truth, though. I will say that it took me some time to understand that purpose evolves. I thought that once I had embraced what I consider to be the call on my life, that was literally the call on my life forever and ever. So when I was starting to get the tug and feel the whispers and feel this this desire to pivot, I'm like, what is that though? This is my thing. This is my jam. This is what I'm known for. This is what I'm good at. I'm better than good. I'm great at it. So why am I feeling this? Like, what is this discomfort? Am I not being, grateful enough for what I've already accomplished? Why am I feeling this? And I had what I call the boulder effect, where there were different things that were happening, right? So first it was like a pebble. So I was known as America's Money Maven for several years. I had my segment on a nationally syndicated radio show for 4 years. I was doing all this speaking all over the place. I was well recognized in my industry for what I was doing. And it's like, I'm good. Dr. Oz is calling you. You're a regular Steve Harvey show, like you on Fox News. You're everywhere doing what it is you prayed for, what you dreamed of. So what is the problem? But I remember being on a segment in particular and them asking me about budgets, and I wanted to throw up in my mouth. I was like, if I talk about this one more time, because I knew in the back of my mind that giving people different templates for budgets were not going to make them use the budget. I needed to help people shift their behavior and their mindset around these things, and allowing myself to continue to have the same conversations over and over again, years and years and years. It was just like, but you know the truth, like, you know that there's more than that. So first thing was like, like, I'm tired of having that conversation. Another thing happened. Then, when you don't respond to the pebble, you get a little stone, right? So the stone was a big stone. My website got hacked and all of my content was deleted. Do you remember this? Like, all of my content got deleted. It wasn't like, oh, someone hacked my hosting company and shifted the domain name to something else. No, they went in and deleted files. I had hundreds of blog posts and, my products and courses that I was selling at the time, like all these files were housed there. They deleted them, and what was left, they corrupted. So I was left with a shell of a site. The only thing that could be backed up was like, you could go there and it looked like something, but if you clicked on something, you was on your own. Like, it wasn't a whole bunch that was going to happen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is insane. But it was the stuff that I was tired of talking about.
Ooh, look how God worked.
It was the stuff that I was tired of talking about, admittedly, but I wasn't going to give up my coin on my own, right? Because I was like, but this is what we do here. Then the next thing, the boulder. I got a notice at my P.O. box in California that some company was challenging my trademark for Real Money Answers. After having this, using it forever, my segment on the Steve Harvey show was called Real Money Answers with Patrice Washington. Like, I had news segments called Real Money Answers with Patrice Washington. Like, I had 4 books that had the title Real Money Answers in it, and had been using it for several years. And I guess I was getting too big for my own bridges. So these folks came and said, oh, we're going to have to, right? And I don't even fault them, because at this point, I believe it was completely a part of that evolution that you talked about. Because I wasn't willing to embrace, like you said earlier, that my purpose was shifting and that I needed to be prepared to evolve. I would have preferred to stay in my box.
Yeah.
Even as much as I was outgrowing the box, it was comfortable. It was my box. It was a nice box. It was You know, it had a little leather interior, it had a nice little warm blanket in it. It was my box, right? Well, my attorney ends up telling me, look, we can fight this because we had an exchange with them and all this. She said, we can fight it, but is there anything else you want to talk about, or like anything else you think we can do? Because it's going to get pricey and they're bigger than you.
Oh, wow.
Charge you what it's going to take to fight this. And I said, you know what? There has been something else on my heart. I didn't think I'd have to pursue it this quickly, but go ahead and tell them that I'll give up the domain name, and I will move on. And so I literally took the site down, took everything down, and went back to the drawing board after 7.5 years of building the brand under Real Money Answers. And that was my boulder. So I call it the boulder effect, but there were different things that led up to that. And I think if we're honest, God is trying to get our attention all the time, every step of the way. And we're like, but that's not my purpose, because I'm already doing this. And what I was calling to do was not so, what I was being called to do was not so drastically different, but it was uncomfortable because when I was starting, even though I always had this idea that wealth was so much more than money and material possessions, what a producer on TV can package is a very easy to digest conversation about using a budget or a savings account or a credit card or debt elimination. And because I was being booked by producers and conference people and all this, they wanted the same conversation over and over again. And even when I tried to challenge that, they were not with it. They'd be like, maybe you can make that a point when you talk about the top 3 budgeting apps. And I'm like, okay, oh my God. So what I was doing was basically taking the risk of alienating the people who had put me on, right? Or the people who could understand who I was, what I was doing in a very clean and neat way, and not challenging their idea. And then I just realized at some point, I gotta pursue my purpose instead of trying to protect other people's perception of me. I don't have time to protect your perception. If God is calling me to do something else, I got to go in that vein. And so that's where Redefining Wealth was born. And where I finally decided to add structure to truths that I had known all along and things I had been doing in my own life. I just wasn't that comfortable talking about it because I didn't think that fit the box of a money expert.
Yeah. I think a lot of us go through that too. How do we know if the decision that we're making is rooted in fear and rooted in purpose, or rooted in purpose? How can we tell the difference?
So, my whole mantra is chase purpose, not money, right?
Right.
And so people always try to challenge me with that. You will have no idea how many people are like,
really?
Oh, well, it's easy for you to say you got money. I'm like, well, here's the deal. I didn't start out with money. If you look at the story, I lost everything and was at the point of scraping up change in 2009, right? In 2010, I was working for pennies. So in now what has been a decade of rebuilding and doing all this stuff, I can tell you I could list so many opportunities on several hands of how many times I've said no to things because they were not rooted in my purpose, what I felt like I was called to do. They would have been great financially. They were well needed at times when my family really needed it, but I could not justify in my mind going down that route if it was not going to get me closer to what it is I feel like the Lord put on my heart. Right. And what people do is, when it's time, when you're at that fork in the road and it's like, is it purpose or is it money, right? Faith says go down the route of purpose, go down Purpose Avenue, because if you're obedient, there's something there for you if you believe, right? Fear says go after the money because you got to take care of yourself. Okay. Because I hear it every day, but I got kids and they need health insurance. Who says that you can't get health insurance as a self-employed person? If that's a part of it. And I'm not saying everyone needs to be self-employed, but I'm saying the stories that people tell themselves, well, I got rent. Okay, we all got rent or a mortgage. Everybody living somewhere got rent or a mortgage, right? Or I got a car note. Okay, give me something That makes sense. Unless you tell me I have 96 kids, I'm not here for it. Like you're making things up at this point. Like you are deciding to tell yourself this story. Am I saying that it's easy to pick Purpose Street? No, I'm not. I'm not saying it's the easy choice. I'm saying it's going to be the most fulfilling and purposeful choice that you can make, because you can go down the path that's rooted in fear, which is let me get my hands on some money. But I do know from tons of research around this stuff that when you are in a space that is unfulfilling, you will end up mismanaging those finances anyway. So the very thing that you are chasing after, thinking that that is going to be the thing that does it for you, is never the thing. That's why that job that you took straight out of college because they gave a better paycheck is wearing you low. Right? Like that's why you put yourself in a promotion or a raise, that something that was not in alignment with you didn't really like, you weren't into anyway, is completely opposite from the call on your life, but you're like, oh, but it's a $10,000 raise, and now you done found $30,000 worth of extra expenses. So now you stuck, right? It is not the easy choice. It is the necessary choice if you are going to live in the fullness of who God is calling you to be. Period.
One of the indicators that I use for myself is whether or not the decision that I'm making is causing me to shrink. Because when I'm walking in my purpose, I'm standing tall, I'm confident, but when it's going against purpose, I'm shrinking. And that's how I know that I'm acting out of fear and I'm making a decision out of fear. During the Earn More Money challenge, there was something in the challenge that you had all of us to do that I'm going to be 100% honest with you, because I haven't shared this with you before, that I skipped. And I ended up having to go back and do that one step, right? Because I realized that I needed to do that step, but I gave myself an excuse and a reason why I wasn't going to do that particular step. And what that particular step was, a brag binder.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say that.
I skipped the brag binder. And the reason why I skipped the brag binder is because I was like, well, I don't want to brag about myself. I want to stay, humbled, I don't want to be boisterous. But it completely went over my head in the beginning, because it wasn't for everybody else. That brag binder was for me.
Yes.
I didn't have to share it with anybody, right? But that's not how I saw it in the beginning. And so now that, I'm chasing purpose even harder than what I was before, because unlike you, I didn't want to be known for my purpose, because my purpose is surrounding, sharing my story of surviving sexual abuse. I didn't want to be known as the girl who was sexually abused and survived it. I didn't want to be known as her, but I didn't realize that, there was a way for me to shape and mold where I could talk about my story and not be labeled as that, right? That people would still see me as who I am right now in this moment. And so the more I chase purpose, the scarier it gets, the scarier it gets. So I ended up having to loop back around. And I was like, God damn it, let me just go back and really do this brag binder that I skipped 3 years ago. And I was like, I'm going to use the podcast as an accountability, my podcast, my episode with you, as accountability to really get it done. Because even when I decided to do it, I got all up in my head again, Patrice. I was like, but then I got to go and get a binder. And then I have to go and get all this stuff. And I'm just like, Keisha, stop it.
Making stuff up. Isn't it amazing how we do that? Let me tell you, the brag binder is for us. Even at this stage, when there are major things that I am negotiating, I go back and look at my brag binder, and it is about reminding me of who I am and what I've done, because it is so easy for us, especially as women. Men kind of have delusions of grandeur for whatever reason. That's them in the Lord. For us, we will scale a mountain and act like we just ran up a small hill. It's like, ma'am, do you understand what you have just done? And especially for women who are high achievers, and we like to go from thing to thing to thing, and we're the ones who never stop at all to celebrate. And because we don't have those mile markers, like graduation ceremonies are for a reason, right? Like you need to be able to look back over your life and remember that cap and gown and walking across the stage and holding that diploma or that degree up and all of that so that you remember. And that's no different than when things were happening in Bible days. They were like, yeah, we know you were here, but write that thing on the stone. So when you pass back around this area, not because you didn't see it, but because we like to get amnesia about who we are, what we've done, what we've come through. Sometimes you need those reminders, and that brag binder is a physical representation of what you've done and why when you get to the table, stop acting like they invited you to the table because there wasn't nothing else going on. Your seat at the table is based on the fact that you have the experience and the gifts and the talents and whatever. Like, you're not just coming with a big eyes and an appetite. You are coming with years of knowledge and experience and, you know, so much to add to the conversation. It's not by accident that you were invited. You were invited because you belong. Right. And we go into these scenarios as if somebody's doing us a favor. Now, here's the thing. I do believe in favor, and I know that I have been invited to tables that I was not necessarily qualified to dine at in that season. Even though I was being prepared, maybe I didn't look like it on paper, or maybe I didn't have some credential, but there were things about how I was being groomed all along that were preparing me for that opportunity. And I had to stop walking into places like I was lucky. Ain't no luck. I wasn't lucky, right? We're blessed. We may be favored, but it had nothing to do with luck. And we can't keep walking through life. Again, we're going to miss living in the fullness of what is happening here if we keep shrinking and playing small. And the reason I had y'all do that and Earn More Money movement, and I even do that in my program now, Purpose to Platform, because when it comes to the money section, I need you to understand why you deserve the money that I'm encouraging you to charge, what I'm encouraging you to ask for. Because if you don't do that brag binder, you'll be like, well, it's only 2 hours, so I don't, you know, that's a lot of money for 2 hours. Baby, they're not paying for 2 hours. They're paying for the 10 years that you put in. 2 hours is how long you're physically there. But the reason you're inviting me to show up for 2 hours is because of all the stuff that I've done up until this point. And so you're going to have to chip in on that course that I invested in when nobody was paying, right?
Hello.
Chipping in to repay me for the speaking coach who helped me perfect my message so that when I come in and step on your stage, your audience is moved. So you going, this is retro pay. So don't think about the physical time it took to get here. You retro paying that VIP coaching that I had in 2006, you know, 2012 or whenever I had it. And so the brag binder is just that, like, that reminder, like, look, you put work in.
Stop shrinking. And the brand binder can also help you to go in and ask for those raises too. You know, it all affects our relationship with money, and that's another reason why I love following you too, because you don't just talk about budgeting, because some of us, we have budgets, but we still broke, right? So what are those other areas, you know, that's affecting us, you know? And I love how you talk about relationships, the people pillar.
My favorite. I mean, our relationship right now is an example of the people pillar. Like, you create relationships that matter, right? There's a reason that I could spot you out of a lineup and say, oh, there's LaKitia, when I, you know, again, I see and meet hundreds of women every, you know, thousands every year, but there's certain ones that stand out. It's usually because there's a deeper relationship somehow that's been kind of thread together. One of the big things that I talk about in the people pillar, as you know, is truly that there's always someone watching you who has the power to bless you.
That is my favorite Patrice Washington quote. That is my favorite quote.
It's been so true in my life over and over again. It's like, people don't realize before you get invited to the table or before you step in the room, there are people who are already having a conversation about you, right? And the thing is, they're having a conversation about whether you make it into that room or you don't. And I don't think that people realize how many opportunities they've missed out on because of how they show up, because of how they treat people, because of things that they are doing when they think no one is watching and people are always watching. So you can be pro women's empowerment all you want, but if I see you cuss someone out on Instagram, I'm gonna think opposite.
Hello.
Like you can say in your bio or say on your website or here or there, you can stand up on a stage and say, oh, I'm this, this, and that, right? But if I watch you backstage not treat somebody well, I'm refer you, like put my name on you, right? Like I literally have made introductions for people, and this is not about me or who I know. Like there's been examples though, you know, throughout my life, throughout my career, where I felt so good that I can make a referral for someone that truly, you know, that truly just deserved it, and I wanted to see them come up. And then there's people who ask me for referrals, and I'm like, either one, I don't know you well enough to put my name on the line for you, or two, do you think I didn't see you? Do you think that my assistant didn't tell me that you were rude? Do you think that, and I'm talking about folks who may already have great platforms, I'm not going to be in alignment with someone I truly am not vibing with just to say that I was, like, just to say that it's all good. And that's one of those areas, the people pillar, where as I'm continuing to build my own platform, I'm getting more and more particular about the things or the people I align myself with. So there's some things where the women look big, right? They got hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram and all these things. And I get invited to be in they little groups. Yeah. I'd be like, yeah, that's not an alignment for me. Yeah. I'm good. Because that's another one of those, make a choice rooted in faith, not fear. I'm not fearful of what some clique of women is going to think if I'm not down. I'm not down with your message. I'm not down with how you talk to people behind the scenes. I'm not down with how you treat your people when nobody else is looking. I'm not down with the fact that you pretend that this is ministry in order to make it look good and sound good. Ooh. But you're sheep in wolves clothing. And just because you have X amount of followers, I'm not on board. So you can miss me with that. I would rather create relationships with folks that don't have no real, platform in terms of the numbers that people are talking about these days, but they're sincere and their heart is right and their motives are pure and their intentions are real. Relationships matter personally and professionally. And I wish more people understood that piece.
I 100% agree, because I feel like I have been mistreated, air quotes, if you will, because my platform is not as big. And it's just like, I remember that, because no, my platform may not be as big right now, but honey, I'm on the come up. So I'm always, magazines and podcasts, and all in radio interviews coming through my inbox all the time. Don't get it twisted. So if you're good to me, it's nothing for me to be like, we had a good conversation. I got so-and-so and so-and-so who have a great, story and will be great for your show. Can I send you her contact information? Like, I'm that person. Right. So it's like, also don't discount the people in their beginning just because their beginnings are small, because they want to come up.
Girls, the story of my life. Can I tell you the number of people that now want to be on the podcast? that miss real talk, that when I met them years ago before the podcast, I mean, my podcast has only been out for 2 years, that.
I know. Amazing.
So the number of people where before I started on the Steve Harvey show, which was in 2014, that little gap, 2012, 2013, like I get it. I believe though that you can deny people and leave them with their dignity, right?
Yes. Like you can
say, okay, it's not a fit, and you should have parameters around the things that you're willing to take and still doing all that at a certain point. That has nothing to do with meeting people in person and being nasty. And I don't forget nasty interactions. I just don't. You're like, oh, okay, so women's empowerment, that wasn't true. That wasn't all the way true. That was just, it was cute. That was okay. And now it's like, maybe because I change my hair often, I don't know. There are people who are just like, they do not remember that we met. Now here's the deal. I have evolved so much in the last several years, and I show people grace and give them the same opportunity for evolution, right? Like, maybe you were at the live event that we did. You may have heard the story with Marshawn Evans Daniels and I. Love Marshawn to pieces.
Yeah.
Now, but she told the story of like how
Yeah.
we actually connected, and the fact that the first time I met her, she was just not in a good place. And for me, I felt a little shunned, like, whoa, right? And she circled back because she said the Holy Spirit put me on her heart, and we had a great conversation where she essentially apologized, and she didn't have to. It was years later. And so we've been able to like, right? So had I been closed off to talking to her and giving her the space to make that apology, we would not have the relationship that we have now. So I get that, right? Because if I'm sincere to the people pillar, I have to give people the dignity of going through their own process and knowing that if I've changed and up leveled so much of my life in these several years, they could have too. And hopefully they have. The problem is when you meet people and they're exactly the same as they were and they don't remember.
That's the problem.
But then they think being nice to you now that you have a platform is the come up. And it's like, oh no, that's not your come up though. Yeah, you remember I used to say that I was petty with a purpose. I'm petty with like, yeah.
At least you got purpose behind your pettiness.
Always.
Yeah. But shout out to Marshawn for even like bringing that up and sharing that story, because I think that was just big of her, in and of itself, to even like share that and realize that she was wrong and listen to the Holy Spirit. Because how many of us don't listen? How many of us are afraid to apologize and say, you know what, I was wrong. I'm sorry, my bad. That type of thing. So, that took strength in and of itself. So shout out to her for even like being woman enough to say I was wrong.
Yeah. And that she brought it up.
And she brought it up.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, this what we doing? But that I was like, wow.
I was like, ooh, are we sharing the tea?
Yeah. I was like, again, like further makes me fall in love with her as a friend, right? Like, wow. The fact that she would use our story to truly be transparent and illustrate that point. That is the people pillar.
That's the people pillar. Absolutely. I have enjoyed you, my friend. I have enjoyed you. So I feel like that you are no longer a good friend in my head, but you are really a good friend in real life.
Well, let me tell you something. What to me did it. I know that our interview was on the books well before. I didn't realize that you were coming to Redefining Wealth Live, like initially. And then by the time I did, I also saw that you had signed up to volunteer and support us.
Yeah.
And I was like, who does that? Right?
Me.
Who does that? And let me tell you, yes, no longer in the head for sure. But that just made me even further just want to make sure that you know that however I can support you, I'm down.
Thank you.
Right? And because you've never, I believe, shown up from a place of what can I get, or what can I, it's always just been very sincere and pure and the right motives and intention, because I'm a big energy girl and I'm a big like discernment girl. So even when you pretending to be nice, I know it's not real. But you have been sincere since day one. I'm so proud of you for launching this podcast. I'm so proud of you for living in your truth.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you for being an author. Like every time I hear from you, it's like, hey, I'm doing it. And just you embracing your own evolution is beautiful, even to watch from a distance. So for neither one of us is it in the head. It's all love. Like,
thank you so much. Thank you for confirming that I am walking in purpose, because those words that you use, I get those words all the time. And so that's how I know that this is the work that I was called to do. And I think a lot of us get confused and think that we don't know, and we do. It's self-awareness. It's about knowing who you are and then how others see you as well. Self-awareness is two-part, right? And how people see us. I think we discount that sometimes because we don't want to take in negative energy. And some people are jealous, but when it's sincere.
Yeah.
when somebody's being sincere to you and really telling you how you are, whether it's positive or negative, is something that we need to definitely listen to. So before I let you go, I just wanted to know, can you give us a book or Audible, because I absolutely love Audible books, that you recommend, that you love, that has changed your life?
Oh my gosh, there's so many books that have changed my life.
I know you sent me one of them.
Like, oh, so many books. Okay. One book that's changed my financial life for sure. Can I do different areas though?
Yeah.
Okay. So one book that changed my financial life was Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. Completely like changed my financial life. Another book that changed like my spiritual life that I wasn't expecting, with the exception of the Bible,
Of course.
but just kind of like just challenging me to look at things a bit differently, was Latham Thomas, Own Your Glow. I really took a lot out of that book.
Okay.
And then professionally, so many books. Shoot. You know, all I do is read, LaKitia.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
but I
sorry.
want to say something. I want to say one that's like, if someone is struggling with this idea of embracing their purpose and needing to live in their truth, I would say Coach Yourself to Success by Tulane Medina.
Okay.
Coach Yourself to Success. When I was at one of my lowest points and I felt like God was saying I was supposed to help people with personal finance, and I was like, but God, how? Because I'm broke. That don't make sense. I ran across that book in the bookstore and literally went through the exercises one by one. And when I go back to the journal that I was using in 2010, and I look at my life 10 years later, everything that I fleshed out and described that I wanted, who I wanted to become, there were things that were always in me. It's like you said in the beginning about embracing your purpose. I was writing that in 2010 because of the prompts and the stuff I was learning from that book. So I credit that a lot with, just becoming the Patrice Washington that other people know, right? It all started with the foundation of doing the work in that book. But I honestly have like 86 different books I could have said changed my life, because I'm always reading, and I'm always taking away, what are the top 3 things that I could use to shift something in my life right now. So pretty much every book I read, whether it's a New York Times bestseller or not, changes my life. You know what I mean?
Those was good. Thank you for that. And I'm gonna check that book out. Is that one? That's probably one I probably want to buy hard copy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll definitely do that. And so, last question: when describing the meaning of living your truth, what is your third word when you hear these 2 words put together? Okay. Self-awareness, purpose, and
self-awareness, purpose, fulfillment.
I love that.
Those go together.
Yep. It's like self-awareness plus purpose equals fulfillment. I love that.
Now I don't have to chase anything. We chase from a place of emptiness and void. But if you're fulfilled, you can surrender all that and just be still when you need to be still, and give God something to bless at the times that you do. But it's not this relentless search of something. Self-awareness and purpose definitely creates fulfillment.
I love that. And your life is definitely an example of that, for sure.
I receive that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my dear.
Is it too much to say I love you?
No.
Is that too much?
No, because I adore you too. I adore you. You are the type of person that you dream about as a coach, as an influencer, as someone who's known as a thought leader.
Sure.
That what you are putting out into the universe actually impacts people and causes a shift in their life. And you, like, man, that's you. Like, I did something scared, put it out there in spite of my fear, in the hopes that it would bless someone. And you, in this moment, I sit here with you, and you are the manifestation of the one person that I hope to bless, right? It's been thousands, but that I have the opportunity to look eyeball to eyeball and hug you at lunch, at dinner, and even have you at my event. Like, man, that's what you hope you are doing to truly create impact, and you embody that. So for every LaKitia, I know that there's got to be 500 other. So, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Seeing you is like, okay, I see you, but I see an army behind you. And then that's the reminder that I'm supposed to keep going. Like, that's the God link. If she could do it, that means, I believe God is no respecter of person. So you are the evidence that the stuff that I was putting out there wasn't just for me to build a platform and to create, an opportunity to just, really give back to the kingdom. I was able to sow, that idea into you, and you are doing the same. That's powerful. That's what this is for. Like, when I die, somebody gonna miss me. If don't nobody else miss me, LaKitia gonna be like, hello, girl.
Right behind Gerald and Reagan, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I received that. Thank you.